We have multiple aircraft here that are part of the continuous bomber presence. So we have the KC-135, our air refuelers, and then we also have the B-1 bomber back there. That provides our strategic deterrence out here in Guam, which is PACAF's number one priority there is to be able to fight tonight. And that's why we have these aircraft here. We also are always working with our allies and partners, and that's why you'll see other aircraft on this ramp that are not assigned to Anderson right now.
I'm sorry, can you also introduce your name and rank?
Sure. My name is Lieutenant Colonel Acuzio. I'm the Deputy Operations Group Commander here at Anderson Air Force Base.
All right. Can you tell us about base operations right now? That's what you're here to talk about, right? Is it business as usual?
So the continuous bomber presence, we've been here since 2004. We operate on a daily basis. This airfield is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
So for continuous bomber presence, is that mainly the B-1 or also other bombers?
Right, it's a constant rotation between the B-1, B-52s, B-2s come out here as well. And really what that does is provides the ability for all the units in the United States to train the bombers in North Dakota and South Dakota and Whiteman Air Force Base, Missouri and Louisiana and in Texas. So it gives everyone the opportunity because Anderson Air Force Base, Guam, is such an ideal place to train.
So what, can you tell us what bombers are here right now as far as the continuous bomber presence? Is it just the B-1s?
It's just the B-1s right now that are here.
About how many?
I can't disclose that information.
Can you say what, like units? What units?
So right now we did have a swap out. Dyess Air Force Base just left after being here since February, and Ellsworth from South Dakota just arrived here about 7 days ago.
Can you say how many B-1s are deployed here?
No, I can't tell that how many either.
Can you say why this continuous bomber presence is important for the U.S. Air Force?
Well, again, it's important because they enable us to provide our number one mission, which is prepared to fight tonight, prepared to prevail. Again, we've been doing this for 13 years, and again, it sends a message, deters our adversary, and reassures our allies and partners in the Pacific here. And it's such an ideal staging base because we are obviously closer to mainland Asia than we are to the continental United States. And that really helps us as a staging ground to joint service interoperability, other ally interoperability. As you saw the other day, we had we did an exercise with Japan. We did an exercise with South Korea. Right now, there's a Guam exercise going on right now. It's within the United States Navy, New Zealand, Australia, and Japan.
Okay, so this is a routine exercise training ongoing. Is there routine exercise or routine training going on right now?
There is, and we train every day. We are always our readiness, and that's what makes us ready to fight tonight because we have this power projection here right behind us. We couldn't do that power projection without having those bombers and those tankers here. We are resilient, and again, we have this high readiness that we are constantly training, prepared for anything. We don't train for a specific threat, we don't train for a specific scenario, but we are training always with our allies, with our partners.
Can you tell us about some of the capabilities of the B-1?
The B-1 has multiple capabilities. Obviously it's a bomber, so it carries bombs. It has gravity bombs, it has GPS guided bombs, it also has standoff bombs. So we don't necessarily have to get directly over the target to drop.
What's a standoff bomb?
A standoff weapon is a weapon that they can launch and pretty much leave from X amount of distance. So a gravity bomb, you'd have to be pretty much right over the target, right? A GPS guided bomb, you don't have to be as accurate because GPS will hook in and then guide the bomb. But a standoff weapon, you just fire, miles and miles off wherever you're at, wherever the target's off of. If that makes sense. Any other questions on that?
Can these carry nuclear weapons?
The B-1s who are out here right now cannot carry, they are not nuclear capability, but the B-52s and the B-2s that come out here, part of the continuous bomber presence, are nuclear capability, are nuclear capable.
Anyone else?
Any other questions?
Just one technicality. Let's say there is something that happens that warrants a response. Can you give us something like a time frame how fast you can actually get something going?
So again, we are always at a constant state of readiness, and the majority of the people here, we live here. So I live here, my wife lives here, my 2 daughters live here, my son lives here. We go to Tumon Bay, my son they go to school here, we go to Jeff's Pirates Cove. So we obviously have a vested interest in here, and we feel safe here right now. And that's what this continuous bomber presence does. It assures our allies and deters our adversaries there. Secretary of State, Honorable Tillerson, just came the other day, right? And he said, right now there is no imminent threat from North Korea here.
But you're saying a response would be immediate, or?
Can you provide any details on the nature of the training happening right now?
Of nature of training? Well, momentarily you're going to see 2 B-1s take off on a mission. Obviously, I can't tell you what they're doing or where they're going, but we are training every day, all the time, just so we're ready. We're always prepared to prevail and to fight tonight. Okay.
Test, good? Right, we're good.
Hey, again, I just want to thank you all for coming out here, and I just want to reemphasize that the people of Guam are part of Team Anderson. The grandfathers, the fathers, the sons and daughters, the civil service men and women, the guardsmen, the Air National Guards. The only reason these bombers could get bombs on target is because of the tankers. The only reason the tankers could get bombs on target, refuel, is because of the maintenance, the support that they get from the base, and that the people from Guam support though. So the people that fly the aircraft and the people of Guam, they're just as important as the folks that fly the aircraft. And we could not get the mission done without the people of Guam.
Statement wasn't tough enough, and we're backed by 100% by our military, we're backed by everybody, and we're backed by many other leaders. And I noticed that many senators and others today came out very much in favor of what I said. But if anything, that statement may not be tough enough.
What would be tougher than fire and fury?
Well, you'll see. You'll see.
North Korean threat as the rogue nation outlines detailed plans to attack the U.S. Pacific Island territory of Guam, a major military hub for America. The North saying Kim Jong-un could approve the plans within days. And while some folks living in Guam are understandably concerned, others are taking it in stride.
It's actually been scary since yesterday, so right now, I'm planning with my family to, what are we going to be doing from here on till whenever this is. So we're trying to plan out if there's an emergency and things like that.
I think one of the safest places to be is wherever they're aiming. Their tests don't seem to be too successful usually, and we have missile defense and stuff.
He's not going to go around threatening Guam, and he's not going to threaten the United States, and he's not going to threaten Japan.
President Donald Trump not backing down an inch on North Korea and his warnings of fire and fury.
The people that were questioning that statement, was it too tough? Maybe it wasn't tough enough.
Trump ratcheting up the rhetoric after North Korea shrugged off Wednesday's unprecedented blunt language from an American president, calling the fire and fury taunt, quote, a load of nonsense.
Well, I don't think they mean that, and I think it's the first time they've heard it like they heard it.
White House reporter Jim Oliphant is following the story in New Jersey.
Well, what's interesting about the president's rhetoric this week is he's really sort of setting this up as almost like a high noon confrontation between Kim Jong-un and himself. But basically, Trump is the sheriff, and he's talking about, North Korea as the world's bully. And so he's turning this into a mano-a-mano confrontation. Trump clearly believes that his best strategy...
I said it yesterday. I don't have to say it again. And I'll tell you this. It may be tougher than I said it, not less. It may very well be tougher than I said.
And I think President Trump's rhetoric is spot on in the sense that the calculus in North Korea heretofore has been we have to get an arsenal in order to ensure regime survival. They need to understand that if they get that arsenal, they will fail. And the Chinese need to understand that as well. Their calculus is a unified peninsula friendly to the West is not in their interest, and a failed North Korean state will cause a refugee crisis. The Chinese need to understand that military action is a credible option for us. It has not been the last 8 years, and that if there's war on the peninsula, that is worse than their other fears.
Michael, again, assess this threat. I mean, the North Korean commander in charge of that country's missile system says he's going to aim 4 missiles at Guam and have them ready to go within a week and then just wait for the command. How seriously do we have to take that?
Well, it's clearly part of the tit-for-tat that's going on, John, between the president and Kim Jong-un. I think there's a couple things that are interesting about it. First, what you see is that North Korea, now that the word is out that they have miniaturized weapons that can be on the missiles, and they are really thinking about the strategic ways of using these missiles. They're telling us what they're going to do to raise the cost for us and try to deter us from getting involved or even get us to back down from the commitments we've made to our allies. Second, they're also talking just about attacking the United States. They're not talking about attacking the United States troops in South Korea or Japan, interestingly. I think this is part of a strategy to really make this a North Korean-U.S. battle, so to speak, and try to sideline both South Korea and Japan, get them to think that what they need to do is come back to the table to talk with North Korea, and it's really the United States is the one that's pushing war. So there's a diplomatic element, and along with that, a strategic element that's showing us how the North Koreans are starting to think about using and employing these new weapons in a way to get us to blink and think twice.
Well, but Michael, the North Korean leader, I don't know, is he believing his own PR? Does he really think that he could launch an attack on, the island territory of Guam, a U.S. possession, and not be essentially eradicated by the U.S.?
No, I don't think so at all. I mean, he knows very well that an attack like that would more than not likely spell the end of his regime. What he's really trying to do is get Donald Trump to back down. He's trying to take the measure of the man and assume that the U.S. president, the current U.S. president, will act like all other U.S. presidents, that we're not willing fully to go to war, except in the case of an unprovoked North Korean attack on us or our allies, and instead probably maneuver him back to the negotiating table. Look, if I'm North Korea, that's what I want. I want to run out the clock on the Trump administration the way I ran out the clock on previous presidents.
That's right.
Let's talk about...
John, let's keep in mind, too, that Kim Jong-un has his own domestic audience. Obviously not in the way of the United States, but he has military, he has his military senior leaders and others that are watching him and watching how he behaves in this tit-for-tat, which frankly, I think the North Koreans haven't seen before. They haven't seen an American president really make this strong of a statement. And yes, they all put the military option on the table, but there has to be a belief